Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us. We're going to be talking about AI and the future of work today.
Ooh, very timely.
It is, isn't it? I mean, it seems like every day there's a new headline about AI
Yeah.
and, how it's going to change everything.
Right.
So we're going to be looking at an article called, and get ready for this title because it's a mouthful, IA, Inteligentia Artificial, a nova solução natural, adapte-se.
Okay, that's quite a title.
It is.
So what is that, Portuguese?
It is Portuguese, yes, and it's by Marynes Pereira,
Okay,
and she is a neurobusiness expert
interesting.
with over 40 years of experience.
Wow.
Mentoring, consulting, speaking on these, really world-changing technologies.
Yeah, someone with that much experience must have some really valuable insights.
I think so too. Yeah, she's seen a lot of changes.
Yeah.
And so in this article, she's asking this really kind of provocative question: is AI the new natural selection? Adapt or...
Adapt or perish.
Yeah, pretty much, right.
It's a little dramatic, but I see what she's getting at. It's a huge turning point for sure.
Yeah.
So, like, the dinosaurs couldn't adapt to the changing environment.
Exactly.
And they went extinct.
And she's kind of making that parallel,
So what kinds of jobs are we talking about here? What will this new landscape look like?
Well, she suggests, and I found this really interesting, that, the jobs that will really thrive in the future are the ones that AI can't do.
Oh, okay. So the uniquely human skills.
Exactly.
The things that require creativity, critical thinking, empathy, that sort of thing.
Exactly. So it's not necessarily, just about surviving. It's about thriving.
I like that. So it's not about being replaced by AI, but about working alongside it, figuring out how to use it to our advantage.
Exactly. And this is where she really brings in this idea of personal responsibility. Like, she really emphasizes that. She's like, we can't just kind of sit back and wait for technology to solve all of our problems.
Right. We have to be proactive. We have to adapt and equip ourselves for this new reality. That's exactly.
I mean, it's not like AI is going away, right? So we might as well figure out how to make it work for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And she gives some really good advice on how to do that.
Oh, does she? I'm all ears.
Yeah, so she lays out 3 key principles. She calls them information, empowerment, and responsibility.
Okay, information, empowerment, responsibility, those are good starting points. Let's break those down a bit. What does she mean by information?
Well, she basically says, you really have to stay informed. You have to understand what's happening with AI and not just, rely on those like headlines or, those little sound bites you see on social media. You really have to dig deeper.
Yeah, I get that. It's easy to get caught up in the hype, but it's important to really understand the nuances. So read articles from reputable sources, attend webinars, do your research.
Exactly. Don't just take things at face value. Be critical, be discerning.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've got information down. What about empowerment? So empowerment is all about equipping yourself. So the knowledge, the skills that you need to really thrive in this kind of new AI-driven world.
So it's about learning, right?
Yeah.
But what kind of learning? Is it all about coding and algorithms, or is there more to it?
I think it's more than that. She talks about adaptability, critical thinking, problem solving, those uniquely human skills that are going to become even more valuable.
That's a really good point. So it's not just about technical skills, but about those human qualities that AI, at least for now, can't replicate.
Exactly.
Okay, so information is about staying informed. Empowerment is about developing the right skills. What about responsibility? What does that look like in the context of AI?
Yeah, and I think this is where it gets really fascinating because she actually draws a parallel between this current kind of AI revolution that we're in and the technological shifts that she's seen throughout her career. Remember, she's been in this for over 40 years.
Yeah, 40 years. That's like the entire history of the personal computer. She must have seen it all.
Right, and she talks about how she's seen all these technologies come and go, everything from calculators replacing those old multiplication tables.
Oh, yeah.
To PowerPoint kind of taking over from overhead projectors.
Oh, I remember those.
And now even, the metaverse is starting to kind of make its mark, right?
It's crazy how fast things are changing.
Yeah, it is. But here's the thing. She emphasizes that the pace of change with AI is unlike anything we've seen before. She even talks about how AI is advancing every 3 months.
Every 3 months. Wow. That's a really short cycle.
It is, it is. And I think that's where this personal responsibility piece comes in. Like, think about it. Just in the past few months, how much has changed with like image generation AI?
Oh my gosh, it's exploded. And the leaps we're seeing in natural language processing are mind-blowing. It's like every week there's something new.
Exactly. It's like,
How do we navigate this feeling of constant change? That's where her idea of responsibility comes in, right?
yeah. And she basically says we need to own our choices. We need to own the consequences of those choices. You know, it's not enough to just stay informed. It's not enough to just develop new skills. We have to be intentional about how we use those skills and how we engage with AI.
So it's not just about letting AI happen to us. It's about making conscious decisions about how we want to integrate it into our lives and work.
Exactly, exactly. And I think this idea of responsibility leads to a really interesting discussion about individual choice and this tension between like technological advancement and personal values, which is something we're going to dive into a little bit more in the next segment.
That sounds like a great conversation for our next segment. But, picking up on that thread of individual choice, one thing that really struck me about Marynes's article was how she acknowledges those who choose to just distance themselves from technology altogether.
I know, right? Like at first, it seems to kind of contradict her whole, adapt or message.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, it really speaks to this deep respect she has for individual freedom, doesn't it?
It does. It does. Like, she's all about using AI responsibly to benefit society.
Right.
But she also recognizes that not everyone's going to be on board with every single new development.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah, and it really makes you wonder, like, what does progress even mean in this age of AI?
That's a great question.
Like, is it about just embracing every single new technology that comes out? Or can it also mean kind of like defining your own boundaries, figuring out what works for you?
That's such a good point. And Mary Miss doesn't give like a definitive answer, but she does say that progress doesn't have like a single definition.
Right.
What might be considered progress for one person could look totally different for someone else.
Absolutely. And I think that's a really important takeaway for our listeners because, it's so easy to get caught up in this idea that there's only one right way to kind of navigate this whole AI revolution.
Yeah, it's like, adapt or be left behind.
Yeah.
But Mary Mislis is reminding us that we all have different values and goals and comfort levels with technology, and we need to respect that.
Yes, exactly. Both in ourselves and in others. So then how do we balance that respect for individual choice with this, need to adapt and evolve in this rapidly changing world?
Well, I think that's where Marynes's third principle, that responsibility, comes back in.
Right.
Remember, she's not just advocating for making choices.
Right.
She's emphasizing owning the consequences of those choices.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that our decisions, both individually and collectively, are going to shape the future of AI.
Yeah, and its impact on society as a whole.
Exactly. And that sense of responsibility extends beyond just our personal choices.
Okay.
It also applies to how we design, develop, and deploy AI as a society.
So it's not just about individuals adapting, it's also about making sure that AI is being used in a way that benefits everyone.
Exactly, not just a select few.
And that leads to this really crucial question that Marynes brings up, and I think it's something we all need to be thinking about. What does it mean to be human in an age of increasingly sophisticated machines?
Whoa, that's a big one.
It is a big one.
And honestly, I don't think there's an easy answer.
Yeah, no.
It's something we're going to be wrestling with for years to come, I think.
Absolutely, because as AI continues to evolve, it's going to challenge so many of our assumptions about work, about creativity, even our understanding of what it means to be intelligent and productive and, ultimately human.
It can be a little mind-boggling to think about all of this.
It is.
But I also find it incredibly exciting. We're living through a period of just unprecedented technological advancement, and we have the opportunity to really shape its impact on our lives and on the world around us.
Absolutely. And I think that's where Marynes's message of empowerment and personal responsibility really comes in.
Yeah.
It's not about being afraid of the future. It's about actively shaping it. And that starts with each of us taking ownership of our own journeys.
Exactly.
Whether we choose to wholeheartedly embrace AI or approach it with a little more caution, the key is to be informed, to be proactive, and to make choices that really align with our values.
So well said. And that kind of leads us to, what can our listeners actually do? What are some practical steps they can take to navigate this new world and thrive in this age of AI?
That's a great question, and that's what we'll be talking about when we come back for part 3, so stay tuned. All right, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into AI and the future of work. And we've covered a lot with Marynes Pereira.
A lot, yeah. We talked about AI as this force of change, the need for adaptation, how important personal responsibility is, and even like these big philosophical questions that AI raises about what it means to be human.
Yeah, like what does it even mean to be human when machines can do so much? It's a big one, but okay, let's bring it back down to earth for a minute. Like what can our listeners actually do? What can they do to thrive in this age of AI?
Well, I think those three principles that Marynes talked about, information, empowerment, and
Yeah.
responsibility, those give us a really good framework for action.
Yeah, okay. Let's break those down one more time. Starting with information. How can we make sure we're staying ahead of the curve when it comes to AI?
Be curious. Like really seek out information from good sources about how AI is affecting your specific industry.
So don't just rely on what your brother-in-law posts on Facebook.
Exactly. Go deeper. Read like in-depth articles, maybe even check out some of those research reports. Attend a webinar or two.
There's so much information out there if you just look for it.
There is. But here's the thing. You also have to be really critical of what you read.
Oh, totally. Not everything you're going to see is accurate.
Right. So you have to develop those information literacy skills. Learn how to evaluate sources. Look out for biases. Separate, like fact from fiction.
That's such a crucial skill in this day and age, really. Okay, information, got it. Now, what about empowerment? How can we equip ourselves with the right skills and knowledge to navigate this new world?
That's where lifelong learning becomes like so key. I mean, think about it. The skills that are in high demand today might be obsolete tomorrow.
Totally. So we have to be flexible, right?
Absolutely. Embrace a growth mindset. Be open to new ideas, new ways of working, and don't be afraid to kind of step outside of your comfort zone and experiment a bit.
And learning doesn't just have to be formal education, right? It can be online courses, it can be workshops or, finding a mentor or following thought leaders online. There's so many options.
So many options.
So many options. And it's all about just being proactive, taking ownership of your own development. But then how does responsibility fit into all this?
Well, Marynes really emphasizes that every choice we make has consequences.
Oh, for sure.
So you have to be intentional. Think about what aligns with your values, your goals, what you want for the future.
So don't just react to AI. Shape how it impacts your life.
Yes. And remember, responsibility isn't just about individual choices. It's also about advocating for ethical AI.
Oh, absolutely. We can all play a part in shaping how AI develops, whether it's having conversations, supporting organizations that are promoting ethical AI, even contacting your elected officials. Such a good point. Oh, and here's another practical tip that I think is really crucial, and Mary's didn't mention this specifically, but network. Connect with people in your field.
Yeah, go to industry events.
Join online communities. Because in a world that's changing this fast, sharing knowledge and building those relationships is more important than ever.
Because you never know where that next opportunity, that next collaboration might come from.
Well,
Speaking of opportunities, let's talk about the thing that's probably on a lot of people's minds. The fear of job displacement.
yeah, that's a valid concern. It's a big one. AI will definitely automate some tasks and roles. It's inevitable.
It can feel like a threat for sure. But how do we shift our mindset to see AI as an opportunity instead of just something scary?
Well, remember, AI creates new opportunities too. So instead of viewing it as competition, think about it as a tool. Like it can free you up to focus on those more, creative, strategic tasks that it can't do.
The things that make us human.
Exactly. So it's about learning to work with AI, not against it, which might mean upskilling or reskilling or even exploring totally new career paths.
And don't be afraid to experiment. There are so many resources out there to help you explore and learn new things.
You can take online courses, do some freelance work, volunteer. There are so many ways to get experience and figure out what you're really passionate about.
It's a journey, not a destination. Like the world of work is always going to be evolving. And AI is just one piece of that puzzle.
So be adaptable, be curious, and never stop learning.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Ah,
Those are the keys to thriving in the age of AI.
no matter what the future throws at us.
And as Marynes put it so well, and I'm paraphrasing here, the future isn't set in stone. It's written in code and in the decisions we make today.
So choose wisely, choose boldly, and choose to be an active part of shaping this new world. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into AI and the future of work. We hope you found it helpful, insightful, and maybe even a little inspiring.
If you want to learn more about Marynes Pereira's work, we'll have a link to her full article in the show notes.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep shaping your own future.